quickly when you quit smoking. I think this is one of the most amazing things about the body. You know, in a sense, we spend decades pounding these poisons into our system, and as soon as you stop doing it, your body bounces back and starts to repair itself. It's an absolute miracle. I mean, get this for a statistic. 24 hours after putting out your final cigarette, your chance of suffering from a heart attack is cut in half. I mean, I just find that absolutely amazing. Within days, your lung capacity begins to improve, your recovery rate begins to improve. There is a cascade of positive physical change that you're about to go through. So you should give yourself permission to enjoy the ride. It's an amazing one. And of course, the sheer slavery of smoking had never even dawned on me. Being absolutely controlled by a 4-inch stick of dry vegetable matter from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night. It just never occurred to me that there was a different way to live life, you know, that there was an alternative to being dominated by this thing. You know, my whole life as a smoker was one continuous attempt to try and create an excuse to go out and smoke. And the slavery is brutal because it never gives you a day off. It never gives you even a couple of hours off. And of course, if you want to quit, things are even worse. Because you spend half of your days in situations where you can't smoke, feeling anxious and deprived, and the other half of your days in situations where you can smoke, feeling guilty and stupid. You know, vacillating between feeling anxious and deprived on the one hand, or guilty and stupid on the other. I mean, this is not a fun way to go through life. But I think there are two things that happened to me that I have ended up enjoying more than everything else put together, above many of these other many wonderful things. There are two things that I think I've ended up enjoying. The first is a massive increase in my self-respect. And when I say massive, I mean massive. You know, when you spend your day pounding these things down, it is very difficult to feel good about yourself. I think we get very good at pushing all the fears about smoking to the back of our minds, but they're always lurking, they're always bubbling just under the surface. It just feels so good when you get rid of this ball and chain that has been dragging you down and holding you back for all these years, and when you realize for the first time that you can be the person that you've always wanted to be, and that you know you're capable of being. Really, you endow yourself with two amazing gifts when you decide to quit smoking. The gift of a fuller, happier life, and the gift of true freedom. The second thing that I've ended up really celebrating is that I rediscovered my passion for life, as the French would say, my joie de vivre. In the last few years of my smoking, to be honest, I was not really having very much fun at all. We have smoking-related cancer on both sides of my family. Everyone who smokes in our family gets killed by it. And there I was, smoking 60 a day, drinking like a fish, not exercising. I mean, to be honest with you, I felt like an absolute idiot. I felt like I was pouring kerosene on my own funeral pyre. It was crazy. My wife was beginning to withdraw from me. I think emotionally she was preparing herself for life as a single parent. I felt absolutely wretched. I mean, I love my family more than anything on the planet. But when I was a smoker, I couldn't wait to be away from them so I could go and smoke. And I think that's the real problem with smoking, actually, is that it drives a wedge between you and the things and the people that you genuinely love in life. I mean, at school, I had been a great athlete. I lost that to smoking. Now, I was fortunate to be part of an amazing family. And there I was, losing them too, choosing the cigarette over my own family. The truth is, the day I got this thing out of my life, I became a better husband, I became a better father, I became a better person. Because for the first time, I was able to put my family first. I cannot begin to describe to you how wonderful it feels to finally be able to be that person that I'd always wanted to be. I mean, life isn't perfect, you know, far from it. But at least I don't need to go through it, you know, feeling anxious and guilty and stupid and frightened on top of everything. The thing that made Alan begin to think about smoking in this very unconventional way, I think was his own personal philosophy. Like many very intelligent people, Alan had a very simple philosophy on life. Basically what he was saying is that, I don't know, irrespective of how you think we got here, to argue that we are somehow incomplete without cigarettes is to argue that we're either smarter than forces of nature or we're smarter than God. And I don't know about you, but it just doesn't smell right to me at all. I mean, if we were supposed to be smokers, we would have been fitted with a filter to filter everything out. But we weren't. So they stick them on the end of cigarettes. But of course they don't work properly. I mean, because if they worked properly, you wouldn't get any nicotine. And if you didn't get any nicotine, what's the point of smoking? I mean, don't take my word for it. In 1989, Philip Morris, the biggest tobacco company in the world, launched a brand of cigarette called Next. And this cigarette was described by many people as every smoker's dream. Supposedly it was a safe cigarette. What had happened is that they had found a process for extracting the nicotine out of tobacco. I suppose a little bit like decaffeination and coffee beans. So no nicotine, not addictive. And then there was a mechanism in the filter that absorbed all of the tar. So no nicotine, not addictive. No tar, can't kill you. I think every smoker in California, this product was test marketed in California, I think every smoker in California bought a pack of these things. But they only bought one. Because as soon as they realized that there was no nicotine in these cigarettes, well, what's the point of smoking? The brand was pulled, not immediately, but after about 2 or 3 months. Who knows, perhaps tobacco companies were concerned that smokers were kind of figuring it all out. But again, you know, don't take my word for it. I mean, think about this in another context. I mean, do you think that heroin addicts do this because they enjoy the physical act of shooting a hypodermic into their arm? Or do you think they do it to get the drug? They do it to get the drug, of course. What about a coke addict? Do you think that a coke addict snorts coke because they enjoy the physical act of snorting foreign particles up their nose? Or do you think they do it to get the drug? Of course, they do it to get the drug. Following this line of logic, is it not clear that the only reason that we do this is to get the drug that's in here? I mean, this point is reinforced by the fact that the market for tobacco-based cigarettes in the US is over $50 billion, and the market for non-tobacco cigarettes is about 22 million. One has nicotine, one doesn't. Americans smoke tobacco cigarettes at about 2,600 to 1 over herbal cigarettes. There's a lesson in there somewhere. Actually, I'm convinced that the only people that smoke herbal cigarettes are smokers who are trying to quit. You know, they still believe that there is some pleasure in the physical act of smoking, but they don't want to be, you know, addicted to nicotine anymore. But the fact is that they realize that without nicotine in the cigarette, there's just no point of smoking. I mean, it's like a coke addict snorting a line of flour just because it's white and powdery. Absolutely pointless. Most smokers of herbal cigarettes switch back to the quote-unquote the real thing in no time at all. Because the truth is we don't smoke for the pleasure of smoking. We learn how to tolerate the inconvenience and unpleasantness of smoking so that we can get our drug, nicotine. You need to see smoking in this way, like, I don't know, plunging your hand in a vat of boiling oil just because it feels a bit better when you pull it out. There are only 3 essentials to finding it easy to stop smoking. And the first is to realize that there's nothing to give up. And I want to be very, very clear about this. I'm not saying that the disadvantages of smoking outweigh the advantages. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there are no advantages. None whatsoever. Only illusions. Most of which were sold to you as a very young child. And which appeared to kind of be confirmed when your young brain got tricked into seeing the alleviation of withdrawal as genuine pleasure. You know, but again, don't take my word for any of this. Pick up your packet of cigarettes. There'll be a toll-free number on there somewhere. Give these guys a call. give your tobacco company a call. Say to them, hey, how you doing? My name's John, Jane, whatever. I'm over 18. I'm thinking about becoming a smoker. Please explain to me the benefits of your product. What do you think they'd say? I mean, after all, this is not an unreasonable question, is it? I mean, if you ask just about anyone who is involved in business what the benefits of doing business with their organization are, they'll tell you, bang, 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 these are the benefits of doing business with our company. What do you think the tobacco companies would say? I must have this wrong. Pick up your packet of cigarettes, everyone. Pick up your packet of cigarettes. Take a look. Show me where it says smoking relieves stress. Show me where it says tobacco can be used as part of a calorie-controlled diet for weight maintenance. Tell me where it says smoking aids relaxation, or smoking relieves anxiety, or smoking helps you cope with emotions. Okay, my next question is, why doesn't it say any of these things? We are lucky to live in a part of the world that celebrates freedom more than anywhere else on the planet. And this particularly goes for freedom of speech. If something is true, you're allowed to say it. So why doesn't it say any of these things on the pack? Because they're not true. I mean, think about it. We're told that the 21st century diseases are stress and obesity. If, as smokers claim, smoking relieves stress, if, as smokers claim, smoking helps keep them thin, it is inconceivable to me that they would not mention this on pack. In fact, they would build their whole brands around these characteristics. You would have brands like, I don't know, Stress Buster or Relax. There is absolutely nothing to give up here. If there were any benefits to smoking whatsoever, they'd be plastered all over the pack, or you could give these guys a call and they could describe them to you. There's literally nothing to give up here. One final thought and we'll take a break. It's a rule of language that if something exists, we have a word to describe it. And we have words to describe the effects of all sorts of drugs. It doesn't necessarily mean they're good or bad, but it means they're real, they exist. So we have words and phrases like smacked up, tripping, speeding, coked up, loved up, pissed, smashed, stoned. We have millions of expressions to describe the effects of all sorts of drugs. Now, before I turned into an old fogey, I did my fair share of partying. And in all those years, I never once heard someone say, you know, I was out the other night and I got really nicked up. I went to a party the other day, I got tobaccoed off my face. It was crazy. It just doesn't exist. There's nothing to give up here. We don't use these words because the feeling doesn't exist. If it did, there would be a word for it. Again, there is nothing to give up apart from some illusions that you were sold as a very young child, which appeared to be confirmed when your young brain got tricked into seeing the alleviation of withdrawal as genuine pleasure. And with this key thought, we will bring part 3 to an end. I will see you again in part 4.